Heyo! I'm just gonna say right at the start that this video is gonna be a lot more chill and laid back. I've been spending my first weeks of July just drawing Artfight attacks, and I figured this would give me a good excuse to ramble about whatever I want. Not that I don't do that already, but I usually try to have a point to make, but no point will be made here. It's just gonna be a lot of shower thoughts and talking about my art. But if you don't know what Artfight already is, it's an online event that's hosted on the Artfight website. It happens every year in July, and it's essentially a mass art trading event. Everyone is sorted into teams, which are based on a new theme each year, like Coffee versus Tea or Dream versus Nightmare. The more you quote-unquote attack the opposite team, the more points your team gets. There's no prize if your team wins, though, aside from, bragging rights. So, I guess the real prize of Artfight was the friends we made along the way. To be more specific, though, the majority of artists that participate are character artists, as in they're artists that primarily draw either their OCs or fan-made characters. So, whenever I need to briefly describe Artfight to, my non-artist friends, I just tell them it's an art trading site for furries, D&D nerds, and anime fans. Because that's probably the most accurate and succinct way to describe the user base. When it comes to my own history with Artfight, though, it's an event that started in 2015, but I joined in 2020. I wish I had known about Artfight way sooner, though, because I would have gone absolutely feral over it as a teenager. I mean, I went feral over it as an adult too, so, I guess the conclusion is that Artfight makes me feral. My first year, I decided to draw 5 images every day, which I know sounds completely ridiculous, but I somehow kept that challenge going for almost 3 weeks, which is equally as ridiculous. I think by the end of July, I had made over 50 attacks. But the consequence was immense burnout. So, once again, my hubris led me too close to the sun and I got burned for it. Thankfully, I've not tried to do that again, so hopefully there's not another pandemic so that I don't go crazy like that again. I've participated every year after that, though, because I just love it so much. I think I just love the fact that there's a website out there where OC artists can come together to just, celebrate and draw each other's cool characters. It also gives me a perfect excuse to exercise my drawing muscles by drawing things I wouldn't normally draw. Plus, it feels more endearing for me to draw someone's original character as opposed to drawing, someone's favorite TV show or something. I really do wish I found the site sooner, though, and I'll explain why, since it's a little silly and a little sad. So when I was a teenager, between 13 and 16, I really wanted people to care about the OCs I made. I didn't feel comfortable showing them to real-life friends because some of the OCs were gay, and, remember this is in the 2010s, where, it's okay to be gay, but only if you're an adult, and just just don't push it in our faces, So, because that was the general attitude at the time, I treated the internet, and by extension DeviantArt, as my secret little treasure chest for my OCs. I also did make friends with other young artists on DeviantArt, and it was fun to talk to them about our OCs together, but I wanted a significant following on DeviantArt, and for people to be genuinely intrigued by these characters. So, after 1 to 2 years of drawing my OCs nonstop, I wondered, why is no one else interested in these characters the way I'm interested in them? But then I kind of started to understand that fan art is significantly more likely to get people's attention, which made teenage me very upset because I didn't like drawing fan art. Sometimes I even thought of fan art as a lesser form of art because you didn't own the thing you drew, which wasn't instilled in me by anyone. I think I just started to believe that out of jealousy. Essentially, I almost thought of myself as oppressed online for only drawing OCs and no one caring. Which is straight up hilarious to me now, hello, I'm oppressed for only drawing OCs and getting no compensation for it, is only something a teenager would think up. But I think if I had found Artfight during that, angsty phase of my life, it probably would have helped me a lot. Not with gaining a following, but just finding more people who had the same passions that I did. But I'm glad I'm on Artfight now, and honestly, it's never too late to join in. Now, another thing I want to do is go through my favorite and least favorite attacks from each year. Also, anything negative I say is not directed at the original artist and their character design. Every artist I've attacked has also just loved the art I made for them, so there's no ill will directed at anyone. This is just me criticizing my ability to execute my own drawings. Simple as that. Anyway, let's start with my attacks from 2020. Now let's get the negatives out of the way with my least favorite drawing of this year, which is this one. Like I said earlier, this was my first year, and I went balls to the wall making almost 5 drawings a day. As you'd expect, I was very burnt out nearing the end, and a lot of my last drawings were just basic busts of people's OCs since they were the easiest thing to draw. Most of the time I was pleased with the outcome. Not this time though. I feel like this drawing of this Houndoom OC just looks weird and kind of lazily drawn. I drew the figure themselves very slim in its silhouette, so there's a lot of empty negative space on the sides, and the backdrop doesn't really help. Mostly because the colors look boring to me. The colors for the whole image kind of look boring to me. Mostly because it's just purpley blue with yellow, which, yes, are complementary colors, but I don't think I used them well here with all the gradients involved. I just think this piece as being kind of uninspired, which I guess is just what happens when you draw something while burnt out. When it came to picking favorites, I actually struggled to pick one since I actually like a lot more of my Artfight attacks than one might think. But here's the drawing I think I might like the most from this year, which is this space rabbit deer character. The design itself is already adorable, so props to the original artist. But I really like the pose I put this character in, since it looks so perfectly floaty in the way you'd expect in a space setting. I do admit the colors or backdrop aren't really wowing me, but I think the simplicity really works here, so I think this drawing is cute. Okay, moving on to 2021. My least favorite attack from 2021 is probably this one of a black cat character in a snowy landscape. Unfortunately, it just looks extremely flat with the way I shaded the background, and the figure doesn't really look like he actually exists in this snowy setting. The snow kind of just looks like paper. It just looks so uninspired, and I don't think I drew it well burnt out. I just think I didn't know how to execute this, and I don't think I used a reference either. Using references is very, very, very important. I often let my hubris get the better of me. Now, my favorite drawing from 2021 is this headshot that I did for Cherry Dusk. Despite this just being a simple bust, I love how much I nailed the shading and the art style in which this character is drawn. It just looks so simple and clean and with so much dimension. I also think that paw is one of the best paws I've ever drawn. Moving on to 2022, my least favorite drawing is this one. The character design itself is actually really cute since it was like this anthro spider person. No, not that one. But unfortunately, I just don't think I really did this design justice. Plus, I'm pretty sure it's another one I made near the end, so I was pretty burnt out. So yeah, unfortunately, everything about it just kind of feels uninspired. Aside from the expression, I was going for that smug cat expression, like the one with the knife pointed at him, since that felt fitting for this character. Anyway, again, there's just a lot of negative space, and the backdrop isn't really helping with that. Not to mention, the colors are very muted and don't really feel like they complement the character design itself. Now, this drawing, on the other hand, is probably one of my favorite Artfight attacks of all time. It just looks so badass and cool, all while being simple enough that it didn't break my hand trying to draw it. The colors and the pose, and especially the sky, just comes together so perfectly. It complements the character themselves with all the reds and purples. Sunsets are really just the best thing to draw to make a character look cool, honestly. I don't even think I used a reference, which is something you shouldn't brag about, but I'm pretty proud of myself for that anyway. Now, when it comes to 2023, I think it's been my weakest year so far. Mostly due to personal issues at the time, but I'm going to try not to tear into these drawings too much. So my least favorite drawing is this one. If I remember correctly, the character was a kinsona of Sitami, of the roleplay we don't talk about. Also, if you don't know what a kinsona is, then don't ask me, because the definition will change wildly depending on who you ask. What I do know is that kinsonas are almost always based on a pre-existing character from any kind of series. Some people try to make their kinsonas more distinct from the character themselves, but other people don't. All you gotta know is that kinsonas are allowed on Artfight, but characters from pre-existing series aren't. So like, if you had a kinsona that was a blue hedgehog because you kin Sonic or something, then that's allowed on Artfight, but you can't upload a reference sheet that just is Sonic the Hedgehog. That is not allowed on Artfight, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, I just had a day in July in 2023 where I was missing Tommy. Like I said, I was having some personal issues at the time, so forgive me for retreating to the roleplay that shall not be named. And the point is that I just wanted an excuse to draw him, so I had the idea to find a similar character on Artfight, and instead I just found a kinsona that was pretty much just Tommy. Again, I don't really know how that's allowed on Artfight, but I was happy to draw that anyway, so no skin off my back. It's just unfortunate that I wasn't thrilled with the result. I think the colors are underwhelming and don't really complement the design. I've never really been good at pastel color schemes like that. The drawing also just looks empty, since the environment is empty aside from the music box and the grass block he sits on. Overall, I think I just wish I put more thought into this one, since it was based on a character I really liked. Anyway, when it comes to my favorite attack of 2023, I had a lot of trouble picking one because I didn't like most of the attacks I made this year, but I think this is the one I was the most pleased with by the end. It's still kind of an underwhelming composition to me, but the posing and the colors save it. These characters actually belong to a longtime mutual of mine, and I've drawn them before for Artfight, so I'm glad this drawing of them turned out nicer than I thought it would. Also, by the way, this same mutual actually made an adorable video for me for this year's Artfight. They're a super talented artist, and I cannot thank them enough for this adorable, adorable gift. 2024 was also a tough year for me, except I made the conscious effort this time to avoid burning myself out. So I ended up making less art than I did the years before, and my attacks turned out better, I think. Except for the few that didn't, like this one. I mean, this drawing is actually pretty okay, and I don't hate it, but the backdrop doesn't feel like it's fitting for the character at all. Not to mention the weird neon color combos I added in. I think I did a good job drawing the character themselves, which has a really cute design, by the way. I really dig this design. I just don't think I did a good job complementing that design with the backdrop. For my favorite drawing, though, I actually had a few, but I think it's gotta be this one. I love this one because it's so perfectly executed to me. The character design already looked so melancholy and graceful, and I wanted to draw a pose that emphasized those aspects of the design, which I think I executed very nicely. The backdrop is simplistic, but it adds a lot to the image itself, making it look like they're standing in a dark room with the light shining on them from atop. Maybe they're on a stage, or maybe there's a skylight. I don't know, but it adds to the gracefulness of this design regardless. Now, for 2025, my goal has been that I really want to focus more on good compositions and unique poses to go with it. I think I have succeeded for the most part, but this is one of the few drawings that was a huge struggle, and I wasn't entirely happy with the result. This is such a cool character design too, and I wanted to make her seem like someone you would totally want to be friends with, but the perspective was so hard to get right, and I still don't think it's quite right. Homegirl looks stiff as hell, and the backdrop was just kind of tossed together. It's not a horrible drawing by any means, though, and the artist who owns this character really appreciated it. I just wish it turned out more like what I saw in my head. This drawing, on the other hand, turned out exactly how I saw it in my head. It was a drawing for an artist I used to really look up to as well, so I was pretty happy it came out so nicely. I love that it looks so crazy and colorful, especially the backdrop. I thought that turned out awesome. The perspective was also easier to work with, since I felt like I had more creative liberty given the character is very two-dimensional on their own. It was just a drawing idea that really clicked with me, and I was able to execute it in a way that I really liked. So, there you go. There's all my favorite and least favorite attacks I've done for 6 years of Artfight. here's to another 6 more years, hopefully. Before I end this video, though, I think there's one more thing I want to bring up in relation to Artfight, which is this video. I'm going to have this video linked down below because I super recommend it. But to sum it up, the person who made this video collected a ton of statistics breaking down the gender and racial disparities among people's OCs on Artfight. Now, as you'd probably guessed, the stats determined a majority of Artfight OCs are actually women, and there's tons of racial diversity among the characters posted there too. Nah, I'm lying. The stats are exactly as upsetting as you'd expect them to be. Anyway, this video has actually already made the rounds among a lot of Artfight users, so I'm not, uncovering some dark secret. But I think it's important to uplift this message, which is that diversity is important no matter what kind of artist you are. Drawing your own little OCs is all well and good, but the art and the characters you create are still a reflection of yourself and your values. Especially as artists, I think if we're going to create characters and draw other people's characters, then we should hold ourselves accountable for when we stagger at creating diverse spaces. Now, I fully understand why it might feel uncomfortable for someone to insinuate that you need to create a type of character you're unfamiliar with. The fear of screwing up is, again, super understandable, but it's something that just needs to be overcome at some point. Besides, with all the resources and video essays out there nowadays, the likeliness you'll screw up writing a diverse character is slim to none, I think. Assuming, you do proper research. Additionally, though, creating diverse characters is also just a good way to improve at both character designing and character writing, since you're being forced to create something outside your comfort zone. If you're still too unsure, though, I think the least we could all do is just give more attention towards diverse characters on Artfight, since they are definitely significantly less likely to be attacked at all. So, as cheesy as it is, be the change you want to see, Plus, in my mind, the OC artists of today are probably the industry storytellers of tomorrow. So, if you think diversity is important in TV and film, then you should hold that attitude to your silly DeviantArt characters as well. Now, that is all I wanted to say about Artfight here. And, yeah. Subscribe or don't.